Hey guys, tonight you're going to drift back through time with me into a world where medicine didn't look or feel like what you know today. As you lie there, eyes growing heavier, imagine yourself in a place without modern hospitals, without neat bottles of pills, without white coats or clean syringes. Instead, sickness was a mystery, and cures often sounded stranger than the illness itself. You might feel the gentle rhythm of history rocking you like a quiet lullaby, as I tell you about how people once trusted in remedies that, to us, seem almost unbelievable. Picture yourself centuries ago, lying in a dim wooden room. A smoky fire flickers in the corner, filling the air with the smell of burning herbs. Your body aches from fever, and there is no quick tablet or soothing syrup to bring comfort. Instead, a healer leans close, whispering strange words, mixing powders of dried roots and animal bones, and promising relief in ways that sound more like spells than science. This was the reality for countless people across the world, who faced sickness with both fear and imagination. In those times, illness was not only a physical problem, it was something mysterious, almost magical, often believed to be punishment from the gods or the work of unseen spirits. Because no one could see germs or bacteria, explanations had to come from what people could observe. The stars above, the weather outside, or even the way your body fluids seemed to behave. The cure, then, had to be just as mysterious, something that matched the unknown cause. As you listen, you might wonder, how could anyone believe in these strange treatments? But remember, when you're living in a world of shadows and uncertainty, any attempt to control sickness feels better than helplessness. Imagine lying with a deep cough, your family desperate to save you. A healer sprinkles crushed emerald over your chest, claiming it will draw out poison. Does it truly work? Likely not. But in the stillness of that night, the ritual itself might bring a kind of comfort. Hope as medicine, even when the remedy fails. The oddest thing is how ordinary these cures once felt to the people of the past. Today, you might laugh at the thought of swallowing powdered mummy or wearing a necklace of dried toads. But for them, it was no stranger than walking into a pharmacy is for you. What seems absurd to modern ears was once routine, passed down with trust from teacher to student, from doctor to apprentice, across generations. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine walking through a medieval town. Narrow streets wind around timbered houses, and the air is thick with the smells of animals, smoke, and bread baking. Somewhere nearby, a bell tolls for the sick, and you hear whispers of plague or fever spreading. In such a place, when fear fills every corner, would you not try anything? Would you not cling to any remedy, no matter how strange, if it promised even a chance of healing? That's why so many treatments survived. Not because they always worked, but because hope itself was powerful. One of the fascinating things about these old cures is how they blur the line between belief and medicine. Some remedies did contain herbs that had real healing power. Others were pure imagination, born from superstition or desperation. Yet together, they form a history of trial and error, of humanity's long struggle against sickness. Think of it like walking slowly through a dark forest, feeling your way, taking wrong turns, and sometimes stumbling upon the right path almost by accident. That was the story of medicine before science. The strangeness also had a rhythm to it. Remedies were not random. They were tied to deeper systems of thought. Many cultures believed in balance. Balance of hot and cold, wet and dry, dark and light. If you had too much heat in your body, you were given something cooling. If your body was thought to be dry, you were given something moist. On the surface, it might sound silly, but it was a genuine attempt to explain the mystery of life and health. And while the explanations were often wrong, the effort to seek balance shaped medicine for centuries. As you rest and listen, let the images drift through your mind like soft clouds. Imagine jars filled with powdered stones, little cloth bundles of herbs hanging from rafters, bottles of thick syrups that taste bitter yet promise to cure. See the healer's careful hands, arranging tools made not of steel but of wood, bone, and bronze. The world was quieter then, slower, and though medicine might seem bizarre, it carried the weight of belief, which itself was a kind of healing. The truth is, when we look back now, these old cures feel like stories from a dream, half frightening, half comforting. They remind us that humans have always fought against sickness with whatever tools they could find, even if those tools were strange. And in that struggle, there is something deeply human: the refusal to give up, the courage to try, the faith to hope. So tonight, as you sink deeper into rest, hold on to that thought. The history of medicine may be filled with bizarre remedies and unbelievable cures, but beneath all of it is a gentle thread that connects you to people long ago. They too lay in the dark, frightened of illness, waiting for comfort, hoping for relief. And just like you, they found peace in listening to stories, in believing that tomorrow might be better. This is where our journey begins, with the understanding that cures once sounded stranger than illness. And yet, through those strange beginnings, the story of healing slowly moved forward, step by uncertain step. You find yourself in a world where sickness is explained not by hidden germs, but by the balance of fluids flowing through your body. Imagine lying in a small chamber, a wooden table beside you covered with cloths, bowls, and sharp tools made of iron. A physician enters, robes flowing, carrying a calm but serious air. His solution to nearly any illness, from fever to headache, from dizziness to plague, is simple. He will take some of your blood. For centuries, bloodletting was the cornerstone of medicine, believed to be the surest path to restoring health. The idea came from the ancient belief in the four humors: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. These fluids were thought to rule the body just as the elements ruled the earth. If one humor grew too strong, sickness followed. The cure, then, was balance, and balance often meant removing blood. Picture the scene. A brass bowl glimmers in the lamplight. The physician ties a cloth around your arm, searching for a vein. With a practiced hand, he makes a small cut, and the warm liquid begins to flow. Drop by drop, it fills the bowl, dark and steady. To the physician, each drop carries away excess heat, poison, or evil. To the patient, weak and frightened, it is a mixture of pain and hope. Bloodletting wasn't reserved for one type of illness. It was the answer to almost everything. Fever, too much blood. A cough, the blood must be hot and thick. Melancholy or sadness, bloodletting would lighten the spirit. Even strange dreams or madness were thought to come from unbalanced humors, cured by letting the body's rivers flow. In some cases, patients were bled until they fainted, the swoon itself considered proof that the excess had been drained away. You might wonder how people endured this, but imagine the desperation of sickness in a world without antibiotics, without vaccines, without clear answers. If your child was burning with fever, and a physician promised that letting out a little blood would save them, wouldn't you allow it? Faith in the method was stronger than doubt. After all, sometimes patients did recover, not because the bloodletting cured them, but because the illness ran its natural course. To families, that looked like proof. The practice reached great heights in medieval Europe, but its roots stretched further back. The Greeks, especially Hippocrates and Galen, shaped the theory of humors that justified bloodletting. Their writings spread across centuries, copied in monasteries, translated into Arabic, carried back into Europe, and taught to new generations of doctors. By the Middle Ages, it was so deeply woven into medical thought that to question it was to question all of medicine itself. Imagine a marketplace in a bustling town. Among the sellers of cloth, spices, and bread, you might also find barbers advertising their skills. The barber's pole, with its red and white stripes, is said to recall the blood and bandages of their trade. Barbers were not only trimming beards, but also bleeding patients, pulling teeth and lancing boils. A man might step from a shave directly into a bleeding chair, trusting the barber surgeon's steady hands. There were tools for every variation of the practice. Small sharp knives called lancets made quick cuts in the skin. For more controlled bleeding, leeches were placed on the body. Their slow, deliberate sucking believed to be gentler. In some cases, elaborate charts guided physicians, which vein to open for which illness, at which time of year, even under which phase of the moon. The heavens themselves seemed to dictate the flow of blood. Though it sounds cruel, bloodletting wasn't always violent or careless. Many physicians believed they were offering the highest form of care. They studied carefully, recorded outcomes, and adjusted techniques. A skilled practitioner was admired, and the rhythm of bleeding, measured, methodical, ritualistic, gave patients confidence. To them, it was not barbarism, but science, the best wisdom of the age. Yet not everyone survived. Some patients grew weaker. Their strength drained along with their blood. Others developed infections from the cuts. Famous figures in history were even believed to have died from excessive bloodletting, including presidents and kings. But still the practice endured, century after century, held in place by tradition, authority, and the deep human need to believe that something could be done. If you close your eyes, you can almost hear the quiet of the sick room, the drip of blood into a bowl, the soft murmur of a physician's voice, assuring the patient that relief is coming, the smell of iron in the air. Outside, the world is full of life, but in this room, time slows. Pain and fear settle like a heavy blanket, and all that matters is the hope that this strange ritual might work. The persistence of bloodletting tells a deeper truth. Medicine has always been as much about belief as about biology. When cures are uncertain, ritual matters. The very act of doing something, anything, offers comfort. And though the practice seems harsh to modern minds, to those living then, it was an act of care, not cruelty. Over time, of course, knowledge would grow. Scientists would uncover the true workings of the body, the presence of germs, the role of circulation. Slowly, bloodletting would fall out of favor, replaced by gentler, more effective methods. But that moment was far away. For many centuries, the bowl, the lancet, and the leech remained ever ready, symbols of a world where illness was met with the flowing away of life's most vital fluid. As you drift deeper into the story, let this image stay with you. A quiet room, a healer's hand, the steady rhythm of blood flowing into a vessel, carrying with it the hope of balance restored. It may seem strange, even terrifying, but it was once the very heart of medicine, a ritual that promised healing in a world filled with uncertainty.